Hi everybody, and welcome back to Neisha J Moments, where our whole theme is that life is lived moment by moment. And so tonight's moment, so to speak, is going to be about the photo-theology course that I told you about. And it's going to be a fairly informal video, but I'm going to share with you how to memorize all 50 chapters in Genesis in less than a week. And you're memorizing not every single verse. The goal of the photo-theology is that you can memorize themes, so that if you want to share with someone or they ask you, well, where in the Bible does it speak about Hagar and Ishmael? You immediately can tell yourself, that's Genesis chapter 16. Or they're like, where can I find the story about Noah building the ark? You're like, whoa, that's Genesis chapter 6. And it's all because you have memorized the themes of the Bible and the themes of each chapter using images. And so I joined a group recently that is led by Pastor Ivor Myers. And I'll put some of his details either in the little description below or in, what do you call it? I don't know, Instagram lingo, hello. Or you can find it in my bio. So yeah, you can find a link in the bio to his page. But he runs a class which you can see on YouTube, Facebook, or you can join the Facebook group. But he conducts these basic classes to help you to grasp the themes of the Bible by putting images to them. And I found it very interesting. It's another way to try to spice up, if you want to put it that way, your study life. Because then it shocks you and you're surprised that you are actually able to memorize themes across the Bible and in less than a week know Genesis 1 to 50. And so I want to share that with you on this page, in addition to other things, but this is the first installment, I guess. I'm going to share Genesis 1 to 24 as one video, and I'm probably going to come back and do Genesis 25 to 50 immediately after as a second video, because the way we are learning it, we're learning it with 24 chapters at a time. So to get you on that same kind of vibe that those who have joined his group and his chat are on, I am going to go through 24 chapters, give or take, at a time with you, because he has recommended that everyone who's everybody has coronavirus but anyway, he is suggesting that everybody who is learning it teach other people. And I think it's something that will be very interesting, hopefully, for the young people from my church. This could be an interesting thing that we could do in terms of learning the entire Bible by theme and being able to recall quickly what certain chapters are about. So we'll start with Genesis 1 to 24 for this video. So that was just like a little brief introduction as to what photo-theology is all about. So we're going to consider the themes that are attached to each chapter, and then we're going to go from chapter 1 straight to 24. So for chapter 1, everybody knows Genesis chapter 1 is the creation. And so you may choose to picture a birthday cake in the shape of the earth, or with the earth drawn on it with a number 1 candle. So chapter 1, birthday cake. And another thing, because I'm getting ahead of myself, he said you can consider each chapter as a floor and that you're going up an elevator in this building. And so this is a 50-story building that we are in, because Genesis has 50 chapters. And so we're going to go through the first 24 stories. So when you are on the elevator and it opens on floor number 1, this is when you see this cake on this table with this number 1, and it has a design of the earth on it. And you're like, okay, Genesis chapter 1, this is the creation. For Genesis chapter 2, when you go up to floor 2, you see these two people, a man and a woman, and they're Adam and Eve. And so you're like, Genesis chapter 2 has to do with the creation of Adam and Eve. When you get to floor 3 and it opens, His suggestion actually is that you see the tree of the knowledge of good and evil in the shape of a number 3. But I didn't quite like that image, because Genesis chapter 3 is about the temptation and the fall. And so my image actually is seeing Adam and Eve falling from the sky. So my elevator door opens and I see the two of them falling. So that's my image. And you can feel free to come up with your images to any chapter, but you're just trying to associate the chapter number to a theme, a particular image, so that when you think about it, you think of this image and it reminds you what the chapter is about. So that's chapter 3. I see these two people that I saw in chapter 2 falling when I opened the elevator doors. And so Genesis chapter 3 is the temptation and the fall. In chapter 4, Cain kills Abel. And what I picture here is a rock that is bloody, and it's bloody in the shape of a 4. So when I open that elevator door and I see that bloody rock and realize that the blood is in the shape of a 4, I think, chapter 4, Cain kills Abel. And so this is useful for people who have a photographic memory, and even for people who thought they didn't have a photographic memory, because there are lots of people who are taking on this challenge. So chapter 5, that's the genealogy of Adam. I just remember that, but the image that you can think of is Adam wearing a jeans pants with the number 5 on it. So he don't got Levi's or I know other brands they got right now. But he got the 5s, he got his jeans with his little 5 on it, thinking that, he's a thug, he's thugging it out. But he got a jeans pants with a 5. So that is chapter 5, and it's a jeans pants, and so you can think the genealogy of Adam. Chapter 6, you picture a number 6 and the curve of the 6. The 6 is on the side, and that's coming up to form the ark. And so Genesis chapter 6, Noah builds the ark. Chapter 7, your elevator doors open and waters just rush at you. Chapter 7, waters rushing. What could that possibly mean? The flood. So Genesis chapter 7 is the flood. And you really hated floor number 7. So you clicked number 8 really fast to go up. And once you got to floor 8, all of the water went out of your elevator. And Genesis chapter 8, this is when the waters of the flood recede. Genesis chapter 9, in the circle of your 9, you picture a lovely rainbow. And so every time you think 9, you think, rainbow in my number 9. Genesis chapter 9, the rainbow. Genesis chapter 10, Noah now has his own line of jeans pants. And so he's wearing a jeans pants with the number 10 on it, because 5 was too low a number for him. So he has a jeans pants with number 10 on it. And so Genesis chapter 10 is the genealogy of Noah. Chapter 11, you can consider the 2 wands in 11 as the 2 sides of a building. And this building is the Tower of Babel. So every time you think Genesis chapter 11, because you've painted that image of the number wands being the side of a building, you remember Tower of Babel. The next one is Genesis chapter 12, where Abraham begins his journey. You remember this how? Let's picture the number 2, because we know that numbers in Sesame Street could walk and talk. So this number 2 is actually Abraham, and he's using his number 1 as a cane, right? Because he's this little old guy who is now beginning his journey. So Genesis chapter 12, the 2 is using the number 1 as a walking stick. And you remember, journey, walking, old guy. Abraham begins his journey. Chapter 13, when your elevator doors open, your 1 and your 3 separate. And so as you see this separation happening, what could that be representative of? Well, in Genesis chapter 13, Abraham and Lot separate. In Genesis chapter 14, you then picture the number 4 running with the 1 underneath his arm. Now, I didn't come up with all of these images, but the number 4 now is running with the 1 under his arm. So if I was just talking about Abraham and Lot, that's the story is still about them right now. So who's running with who? Abraham actually had to go and deliver Lot. And so in chapter 14 is when we read about Abraham delivering Lot. Chapter 15, you think about the number 1 and the number 5 shaking hands. Again, these are Sesame Street numbers, I guess. And so the number 1 and the number 5 are shaking hands, which signify that Genesis chapter 15 is about the covenant. So that agreement, that covenant promise that God made with Abraham and his seed. Chapter 16 is Hagar and Ishmael. Now, I haven't come up with a great way to remember this. Pastor Myers suggests that you can consider Ishmael's age and you can think about 16, and that he might have left home at the age of 16. So when you think 16, you think about Ishmael. But it's not because he left home in chapter 16. Don't get us wrong at all. Ishmael didn't leave home until chapter 21. But he just gave us that image because, so when you think about the 16 and, you know, Ishmael has on a jersey with the number 16 on it, perhaps it will help you to remember. But whatever you choose to picture, just paint that image in your mind. And when your elevator door opens on level 16, that's what you see. And you remember Hagar and Ishmael. Now in number 17, the 17th chapter, you can picture your 7. You know, you have the top and then the bottom. So that becomes the scissors. So chapter 17, the 7 becomes the scissors because the men get what? So circumcised. So Abraham and his family are circumcised in chapter 17. And guys, I did not know, I couldn't memorize all these themes before last week. Like, I just started this course. And so that's why I'm also happy to share it with you, in case you want to do this for the whole Bible. In chapter 18 now, we are going to consider that the 2 parts of the 8, so you know there are 2 sections. Oh gosh, how do I show y'all this? But y'all know what number 8 look like, so I don't need to show you. So the top part of the 8 comes down to meet the bottom part of the 8. So you open your elevator and you see this happening with your numbers. And so you know chapter 18, this is when God visits Abraham. Then in chapter 19, I guess the whole place just burned up because I just remember 19 as the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. I don't have a major image for that. But when I open my elevator doors, all I just see is fire. I don't know what you want to see or associate with chapter 19, but that's why I associate. So I know 19 is the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Chapter 20, Abraham lies to Abimelech. So we picture the 0 in the number 20 lying on its side. And also we think Abraham was a big fat 0 for lying. And so the 0 is lying down. And that reminds us, when I get to 20, I think of this 0 lying on its side. That must be when Abraham lied to Abimelech. Then chapter 21, what we painted as our image in the group was that the second comes before the first. Meaning, even though Ishmael was born first, Isaac was actually the son of the promise. So the second is actually before, or comes before, or is in preference of the first. And so when you see the 2 and the 1, you remember that Isaac was born in chapter 21 and Ishmael leaves because the second comes before, or is preferred over, if I could put it that way, the 1. Or 2 is greater than 1. Whichever one you want to remember. That will just help you to think this is what the theme of the chapter is. So 21, Isaac is born, Ishmael leaves, him and Hagar. Chapter 22, you think 2 go up and 2 come down. What happened in chapter 22? Abraham was tested. So he had Isaac now, and then God asked him to go sacrifice him. So 2 went up to Mount Moriah and 2 came back. So 22. 23, what we would like to remember here is we see a tombstone with S23 on it because Sarah dies in chapter 23. So when we open those elevator doors, we see a tombstone that has S23 and we remember Sarah dies. And then in chapter 24, which is the final one we'll go through in this video, we consider that the 2 is beginning the word together and the 4 is beginning the word forever. So together forever, because at that point in time, Isaac marries or meets Rebecca. And so that's the theme of chapter 24. And so that's it. And if I could do a quick recap, we're going to start from 1 and go straight to 24. And it is recommended that we try to jump all about the chapter. And if we can, at some point in time, get this to be interactive and have a live video and people actually turn up, then we can try to test ourselves where people throw us a random number and we're able to replay and to say which theme of the chapter or which chapter is that, or what goes on in the chapter that they give to us. So I can just do it in ascending order and call that Wally for this video. So chapter 1, creation. Chapter 2, Adam and Eve. Chapter 3, the temptation and the fall. Chapter 4, Cain kills Abel. 5, the genealogy of Adam. 6, Noah builds the ark. 7, the flood. 8, the waters recede. 9, the rainbow. 10, the genealogy of Noah. 11, the Tower of Babel. 12, Abraham begins his journey. 13, Abraham and Lot separate. 14, Abraham delivers Lot. 15, the covenant. 16, Hagar and Ishmael. 17, Abraham and his family are circumcised. 18, God visits Abraham. 19, the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. 20, Abraham lies to Abimelech. 21, Isaac is born, Ishmael leaves. 22, Abraham is tested. 23, the death of Sarah. 24, Isaac and Rebecca are married. And we're supposed to try to do it as fast as we can so that it is cemented in our minds. So that's it for this first video. And all of the videos that I post that have to do with photo-theology are going to be IGTV videos, because I won't go over 20 minutes for sure, but for most of them, because I have to go through which images you have to recap, it will definitely be more than 10 minutes sometimes, but I will try to never go over 20 minutes, but they say never, so who knows. But that's it for Genesis chapter 1 to 24. I hope that this has maybe piqued your interest in learning the themes of the Bible in this way. And another interesting thing is that as you learn more themes, then you start to see how some themes may match up with other things in the Bible that you never knew could have possibly been linked, and it becomes a good tool for Bible study.